racial profiling, immigration, and the fight for freedom together. Please welcome HIP's Vice President of Movement Building and Infrastructure, Jasmine Chavez.
Buenos días. We could do better, LA. Buenos días. That is so fantastic. Thank you. Buenos dias. It is my absolute pleasure to be here on behalf of Hispanics in Philanthropy, to be here with all of you, to learn from all of you, to engage with all of you. And we're going to kick it off this morning with an incredible panel. And I want to begin right away because we don't have a lot of time, and I adore these people, and they're going to tell us incredible things of how do we win, right? What's worked in LA, how do we build it together, how do we fund this work from beginning to end, especially with what Alberto and Eunice shared with us this morning. So please join me in welcoming Angelica Salas, the Executive Director of Chirla, Nana Yamfi of Black Alliance for Just Immigration, Conchita Cruz of the Asylum Advocacy Project, Memo Torres from LA Taco, and Rudy Espinosa from Inclusive Action for the City. Thank you so much. And we can sit down and get comfortable, como sala, you know, like we're in a living room. Thank you so much. When HIP was coming to LA, one of the things that we heard very strongly from LA leaders and the LA delegation at the Change Unity Conference was like, make sure you get our leaders up there and do it right. So I'm hoping we're doing it right. But really, all of you have been champions of the city, of the country, in leading not just some of the local battles here in LA, but being a model at a national level when we are truly at a crossroads in terms of who are we going to be as a nation, who are we going to be as those of us who work in philanthropy, and how are we going to respond, how are we going to be able to speak to this moment as we reflect back in history, because it really is a pivotal moment that will define this nation. And each of you are holding incredible work around how we are responding and building multiracial solidarity in this moment, and litigating and responding and funding and sharing narratives to the work that Memo has done. So we're going to jump in because I have so many questions because I'm really curious. I'm going to start with the first question. And you know, across the country, we're seeing this normalization of racial profiling, over-policing. And Alberto, actually, as I checked in with him before the conference, really pointed out, it's really the expansion of federal policing in a way that is being tested on immigrant and Latina communities, right? For each of your perspectives, what feels most urgent or dangerous about this moment? And what do you believe is truly at stake for our communities and democracy? And I'll start with you, Angelica.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora de Los Ángeles. So it's so wonderful. As I look around the room, I see a lot of friends and a lot of my colleagues as well who are doing some work on immigrant rights. So I think that first and foremost, we all know what's happening on our streets across this country, which is perverse racial profiling, brutal arrests, detentions of people in immigration prisons, horrible conditions, mass deportation. My team is also in Mexico City and in Tapachula, Chiapas, at the border of Guatemala with Mexico, receiving our folks who have been deported, also in horrendous conditions. There is mass violation of human rights and human dignity. But to your question, like what is urgent in this moment is that we have to first understand how we got here, and what's real is that at the end of the day, this is about political power and the coalescing and the organizing of Latino political power. And there was a calculus that was made by this Trump administration and the Trump campaign then, that there was two things. Number one, that Latinos cared more about the cost of eggs than the cost of lives, of Latino immigrant lives. And that there could be a mass deportation agenda and that the political organizing to stop it wasn't going to be strong enough to derail it from occurring. And I always want to say the majority of Latinos voted not to have mass deportation. That is real. That is, but that there was enough people who could be swayed the other way to have this reality. So when I think about all the harm that I see each and every day, the fact that Chirla has helped 2 families with their funerals because their family, Mr. Carlos Montoya, who was chased by ICE, who lost his life after being chased by ICE into a freeway, horrible death. Grandfather from Guatemala, or Mr. Ismael Ayala Uribe, a 39-year-old DACA recipient who had just was about to get his green card, also died in detention, worked with those 2 families. And so for me, what's urgent right now is that we have people who are dying. There are people who are being brutalized. And we here in this room have to organize our money and have to organize our political power in order to stop this inhumanity.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to finish by saying that we have to care more about this than now the cost of gas. And yes, economics matters to us, but our people, the humanity of people have to matter so much more. So what is urgent to me is how we use our political power at the vote, in every single way, in every single election, to send a message that we will stand up for each other.
Thank you. Conchita.
Unfortunately, there are so many urgent things to choose from to talk about at this time, and I'll talk about birthright citizenship. I run an organization that is a membership organization of asylum seekers. Our members are from 175 countries. We have over 700,000 members, over 100,000 here in California. And when we asked in December of 2024, what rights are you most afraid will be taken away? The 2 things that were at the top were access to birthright citizenship for their children and access to public education for their kids. And that spoke to me as the daughter of immigrants that our members' first concern would be their kids. I know how much my own parents poured into wanting to create a better life for me. And I know that it's with that sentiment that our members decided to file a lawsuit to try to stop the executive order from going into effect that would basically have ended birthright citizenship as we know it. That issue right now is still at the Supreme Court. And I bring this up because I think it really speaks to the crux of why so many of our families came to the United States to begin with. The dream that even if they suffered indignities and obstacles and hardships as immigrants, that their kids, if they were born in the US and raised here, would be able to be Americans and would belong, and maybe one day could even be president. Now, it's never been that simple. It's always been more complicated than that, but we are further away from that dream today than we were a few years ago. And I think that that should be something that is ringing alarm bells for all of us. And I know right now, as we wait for the Supreme Court to make a decision, it's something that our members have said over and over again that I think about is if a president can come in and change something that is so deeply rooted in who we are in the United States, that's in the US Constitution through an executive order, what else can they do? And so I think it also just speaks to all of the issues that our communities are dealing with, the rights that are being taken away. And I hope obviously for a good decision this summer, but I think that that's something we have to be paying attention to.
Thank you so very much for the question. Good morning, folks. So glad to be here. Buenos dias, bon dia, bonjour. Got to cover all my folks. I don't speak Dutch, though, so. Wanting to make clear that we really have to analyze, as you described, this American dream, and I think that's the most urgent issue. Again, my name is Nana Jumfi, pronouns she, her, wonu, in the Tree language of Ghana, which is where I'm from, and was born in this country, but like a Toyota made in Kansas, continue to be Ghanaian, and obviously have family, friends, relatives that were born outside, including my parents, and came here. And I think when we look, Baji is a Black organization, a national org. We fight for the rights of Black migrants and African Americans. We were started as a Black diasporic organization. Many of you know of Gerald Lenoir, the Great, who was one of our founders and was the ED forever, and also Reverend Sauls, who's still here in Los Angeles. So we started as an organization that is focused at that intersection of racial justice and migrant rights. And it connects to the American dream because, as our good brother, son of Louise Little from Grenada, Malcolm X, teaches us, the American dream is really an American nightmare. And there's something about feeling that and knowing that is so urgent in this time. To understand that what we are fighting is white supremacy. You might be white in Peru, but you're not white in America. Like, I don't know what to tell you about that. That in this country, they have defined white so narrowly that Irish people were not white at some time. Italians were not white at some time. They have a terrible name for everybody. Because the notion of making this a white country, in spite of the fact that they came here and it was not a white country, and that they snatched and dragged millions of Africans here, making it even less of a white country, there's still that insistence through the power of political power and through the power of vigilante power. Because I'm sorry, some of these masked people are just mercenaries. They're not even the government. Right? And so I think it's critical in this time period. It's hard to do. But when we talk about immigration policy being used as a tip of the spear to expand police powers, when we talk about the warrantless searches, the arrests, the murders, I mean, it should be ringing a bell to people who have been talking about this. Black people. This is what they do to people they've decided are eternal foreigners. They tell African Americans when they get upset, go back to, they don't say go back to Mississippi. They don't say go back to Alabama. So if Black people, if George Floyd, if Breonna Taylor cannot be US citizens and live the American dream, why we who are coming from somewhere are thinking that we are gonna live the American dream, I don't understand. And so that to me is the urgency of understanding that we need to see this as white supremacy and bind ourselves with all of those who are being oppressed under white supremacy to fight this beast. And as soon as we do that, we'll be in a better place.
Yeah, ditto to all of that. I'm Emma with LA Taco. Thank you. Yeah, for me, what's most critical right now, I think it's obvious. The racism is blatantly obvious. We got Mark Wayne Mullen saying that the hunger strikers just want ethnic food. The supremacy is rampant. Stephen Miller in his big ass forehead hates Mexicans. The president, of course, that's duh. But I think what's missing here in the conversation, and I think it's kind of like what's the saying? You can't see the forest for the trees. Is that the immigration policies is just kind of they're using racism as a tool it's an effective tool to basically spearhead this whole techno AI surveillance republic that they're building with ICE and the money that's being going into that. And our people are the ones that are the guinea pigs. They're testing it. They're using it as an excuse for funding it with almost half a fucking $1 trillion. They have like what 300 to almost 400 billion money like dollars now for this. I mean, their military budget is somewhere between below China's and above Ukraine's. It's insane the amount of money this ISIS is getting. So for me, I think it's just bringing critical awareness that like racism and immigrants are being used as tools to build this big police state, like you mentioned, a surveillance state that is first targeting immigrants, the most vulnerable, and then eventually is going to target everybody else. And even white people are going to be vulnerable, especially the ones that are speaking up. And, you know, Trump said it in NSPM-7. How many of you guys know what NSPM-7 is? It's incredible. Nobody knows what NSPM-7 is. Okay, NSPM-7 is a page on the White House which literally says, declares who the new counter-terrorists are, who the new domestic terrorists are, and includes people that are anti-American, anti-Christian values, anti-capitalist, anti-ICE, and that's recently been expanded with a new document on the White House page called the New Counterterrorism Plan, which also includes anybody that just kind of goes against the administration. Like, this is happening. And the thing about it is that these people are not even like keeping quiet about it. Like, they're literally like a racial slur away from just being full-blown racist, you know. And they're out in the open. They're telling you what they're doing. They're putting it on a website, and nobody knows about it. You know, and this could be like it's like tinfoil theories that these sound like, but no, they're literally published on the White House what they're doing, and they're tapping Palantir, the AI company, surveillance company. How many people know about Palantir? All right, we're on to something now. Palantir is already using their AI surveillance tech to give ICE 20 million targets for their immigration enforcement. And Trump just tapped Palantir to start creating another database of non-immigrants, just people that are going against the government, his enemies. And if you go to the White House now, there's also now a page that's anti-left-wing influencers and media that are going against them. So this whole immigration enforcement, the racism, all that stuff is just a tool for them to build this big AI surveillance system that's going to go after everybody eventually. So immigrants are just the tip of the spear, and racism is just a tool. And I think it's critical that people understand the surveillance system that's going to come after everybody eventually. So that's all I got to say.
Hi, everybody. I'm trying to think about what I should tell you that you don't already know. Memo got us on some new data that we didn't know about. I was with Nana and Angelica yesterday at the California Community Foundation. I see Cielo right here in the front row. There was a series of listening sessions where we were documenting the experiences of people that have been impacted by the raids. And so it's been a year since this has begun. And our organization champions working people, invests in entrepreneurs, and we work to change systems because we're trying to build an economy that works for all of us. And we brought to this hearing Enrique. So let me tell you about Enrique. Enrique is a construction worker, and he's also a street vendor, and he's one of our borrowers, and he was there to provide his testimony. And I just wanted to share that he came in, he works. And so he came in and took his time to spend time with us to document his story for the record. And he came in with the stories of all the people, the other street vendors that were impacted. He kept talking about one of the street vendors that was abducted and all the work they put in to free her. And there was an option to, every person that was providing testimony was being recorded with video and audio. And there was an option for people to provide testimony in an anonymous fashion. And we were there for a couple of hours, and Enrique was going back and forth about whether he should stay anonymous or be out in the open. And he just kept going back and forth. Should I do it? What do you think? He was asking everybody, should I do it anonymously or should I just put my face out there and put my voice out there? And he was really worried. And he decided to provide his testimony anonymously. And we were proud of his decision because he wanted to protect himself and his loved ones. And I'm so happy that he provided his stories. And I guess what I want to offer folks in this room is I fear that many of us are on the sidelines right now. We are on the sidelines. And right now is a moment for us to think about am I going to try to be anonymous? Am I going to try to be on the sidelines, or am I going to speak up? Because it's getting too late. For folks that were in Albuquerque, I told y'all the last time that we're getting to a point where it's too late. It's coming now. And I just want to engage everybody here in this conference and beyond. What are you going to do differently? What are you personally going to do differently in your institution to move resources, to tell stories, and to speak up yourself? Because you have more privilege than Enrique. I don't know if I answered the question, but I think hearing all the things that are happening to our communities, we need each other, y'all. We need each other. And every single person has a role to play.
Thank you, Rudy. You did answer the question because that is urgent. And I think you named something really importantly that as we were preparing for this conversation, we named the ways in which philanthropy has connected and forced a lot of our nonprofit organizations and our ecosystems to change how you work, change how you build, move into coalition, bring in everybody, have one ask. That's easier for us. So you move differently. Right? How are you moving differently? And I think you're raising that as one of the things that is very urgent is like you can't ask of community to do what you are not willing to do yourself. And some of that is, I think we're still waiting to see that good faith effort of what's different this time. Right? And so I'm grateful for you to name that because I think it's really critical. I think one of the things I also want to talk about is the ways in which all of you have built out multiracial solidarity coalitions, collaboratives, campaigns around it, and have been successful at it, right? And I know it's not always easy. You know, sometimes we see these big coalitions and we're like, mira, we all work together, qué bonito. That takes time, right? For those who've been in coalitions, the politics, the love, you know, that all takes time, the trust. But I would love to hear from you all what are some examples of the ways in which you approached multiracial solidarity building in this moment, or even during Trump 1.0 in terms of what's worked? Because I think we also have a lot of nonprofit leaders in this room who are working and organizing and building coalitions in their home states. So what can they also take back as part of the work and the lessons that you've learned?
So I'm just scanning this room, and it's so impressive. It's leaders from all over the country. She's no longer here. Luz Gallegos was here from TODEC. I wanted to give her a shout out, another incredible immigrant rights leader. And I just look at everybody who's here, and I think about how critical it is right now to build solidarity, but solidarity that isn't rhetorical, but solidarity that's action. That's action that really is evidence through the programming and what you are doing each and every day. So to me, the first part of solidarity is understanding a shared history, and that many of us who are Latinos and APIs and people from the African diaspora wouldn't be here but for a major victory by the civil rights movement in 1965. That basically said that our immigration policies should not be based on race. And the most important thing was that as Latinos, as Asians, and as Africans, we were more than our labor, and that we could bring our families, that we deserve to have family unity. That was born out of 1965, out of the civil rights movement. We talk a lot about the victory of voting rights. We don't talk enough about 1965 and what that meant for us. And so for me, when I think about really how do we embed solidarity and multiracial understanding, is to really remind each and every time to our own staff, our members, and everybody how we are part of a legacy of fighting for racial equity in this country. And in terms of coalition, there is no way forward but through coalition. So right after November 2024, we began immediately to bring our labor, our faith, our community-based organizations together. And every 2 weeks, we've been meeting every Tuesday, 3 o'clock, without fail, to build out our rapid response network, to reflect on what has just happened in the last 2 weeks, and then to move forward together and to understand that we're looking at the immigration policy, but there is a bunch of other things that are happening in this country to seek to elevate once again this idea of white supremacy in this country. And white supremacy is in the White House, and white supremacy is in every one of these policies. And how, as a collective, are we fighting back? And to really see the fight against immigrants as a fight that is about, the fight with immigrants and for our immigrant communities is also a means by which to advance racial equity in this country. Because Stephen Miller is very clear. He doesn't want anybody here who is not white. Trump is very clear with his actions. This is a country, from their perspective, that belongs only to white Eurocentric populations. And so we in this room have to fight for our rightful place in this country, because this country does belong to us. This is a nation that we have built with our labor, with our heart, with our soul. And so we have to fight. And so to me, there is no separation. It is a separation, the unity of our people across lines of race is what's going to get us through, and what has always gotten us through in this country. And so I'll just finish by saying that this is our moment. We look back at the moment of, lynching in America, when we look at internment camps in America, when we think about Black Lives Matter and all of these things. This is a moment where Latinos and Latinas in this country can rise up and exercise their economic and their political power, their social capital, in order to bring America forward so it truly is a multiracial democracy. This is our time, and we have to move forward together. There's so much power that we have, and I urgently am here to just ask of this group to exercise that power in order for us to demonstrate to African Americans, to Asian Americans, that we too are in this fight for them, but we also see ourselves as great contributors to the building of this country.
I think for us as an organization, we have members from 175 countries. We represent Latino, Black, Asian, white asylum seekers in the United States. And we always have, and that has been a really central part of our mission, because there's education to be done as a membership organization when our members come to us and they say, well, I'm Venezuelan or I'm Cuban. I'll say I'm Cuban since I'm half Cuban, half Guatemalan. So I'm Cuban. Cubans should just be allowed to stay in the United States. And it stops there. And we're like, well, look at all of the other people around you. Look at the other people who are here. Look at the people who are having the same problems you're having, accessing your work permit. You've been waiting for your asylum case. They're from all around the world. They may or may not be from your country of origin. They may or may not be the same race as you are, but they're having a shared experience. And I think it's really important to do that work, to meet people where they are and say, yes, that's a problem for your community, but look at all of the other communities that are having the same problem. And I think that from the very beginning, that's been a core part of being able to answer our members when they have concerns, but also doing that sort of deeper identity building. Unfortunately, so much of the fight around immigration has been siloed between different groups, between groups of people from different countries who came with different statuses, all of those things. But like the others here are saying, like other panelists here have said, that doesn't matter because to Stephen Miller, to this administration, to a lot of people in the United States, we're all the same. And at the end of the day, it is an important message that we have to do, even within our own membership, to educate people, to get them there, to make them realize that. And I think it's also powerful to say, well, if we're all the same, the good news is that there's a lot of us, actually. So, and there's power in that. So I think that that's one thing. I think the other piece of this is looking beyond immigrant communities. It's important that the language that we use is inclusive. And I think many of you saw, for example, Mayor Mamdani say, immigrants built this country recently. And, you know, immediately was met with a lot of different groups saying, excuse me, you know, that is really not taking into account indigenous people, Black enslaved Americans who also built this country. And, you know, I'll just say Mayor Mamdani has apologized and put out a different statement afterwards, but it's important to realize that, you know, I'm sure that many of us in this room heard that immigrants built this country, and there's a moment where you feel like, yeah, immigrants helped build this country, and why did that feel good to hear? Because you want to feel like you're included in the history of the United States, that you are valued, that you belong, that you're seen. And so we have to be careful when we feel that to make sure that we're not excluding in the same statement when we talk about immigrant rights. You know, there are other people in the United States that are not immigrants and that are not part of immigrant communities. And it's important to think of things, paint with a broader brush, to think about human rights, and to speak to people in a way that feels inclusive of their own experience. And so that's something I think that when we're doing coalition building is really at the core of the message. So, thanks.
So I'm looking at the time. I'm going to be quick. Okay, so here's what I think is important. Baji was started really in the midst in 2006. We turned 20, aren't we beautiful, this year. And it was started in the mix of the conversations around immigrant rights and a recognition that Black folks were not included in that conversation, whether they were Black immigrants or whether they were African American. I can't see with these lights. I have a feeling that if I ask people to raise their hand if they identify as a Black person, that it wouldn't be too many hands up. So part of it is, who are you inviting? How are we including? As Angelica said, how are we working together? So Baji has a campaign that is called Stop and Break the Ice Machine. STOP stands for Stop Taking Our People. And it names racism, criminalization, and xenophobic immigration policy as the basis of all that is happening right now. It is a multicultural space. The Break the Ice Machine is a boycott of Hilton as one of the main holders of the body snatchers, as we call them, in these invasions that happen across the country. But this is a national effort. We have over 100 organizations, as well as folks that aren't an organization, right? Mass organizing across racial lines that are working together. We just had a 2-day action camp and then marched ourselves over to the Hilton headquarters hotel in Virginia and shut them down. But we did that together, and we're actually working together. So that's the first part. You got to work together. Locally, in the flesh, not just digitally, and connect on the national basis. But I think we also need to think about and to focus on, in beginning that conversation, those places where we have common understanding of danger. Birthright citizenship is a common understanding of danger. The criminalization is a common understanding. Surveillance is a common understanding. The attack on organizations. Raise your hand if your organization has been attacked by this administration. Right? That is a common understanding that we have that allows us to move forward, not just in self-interest, but also in solidarity. But that also means, particularly when we're talking about Black folks, whether African American or Black immigrants, we've got to deal with the white elephant in the room of anti-Black racism amongst our own community. And we have to deal with that in a real way, because that, in a time of scarcity, in a time when people feel tight, right? It's very easy to think that demographics is destiny. That because there's so many of you, your time has come. Throw that out of your mind. White supremacy has a game for that. And right now, y'all are playing in that game. Solidarity with those who are marginalized is the only way to win.
We're running out of time, so I'll keep it brief. So at LA Taco, we've always been about highlighting communities that are underrepresented or don't have a voice that larger media always kind of ignores, which is basically most of LA. That's not on Wilshire and Sunset between the beach and downtown. And over the years, that's helped us build trust in those communities. And when the immigration rate started, we were very focused on being community service-oriented journalism, providing resources and stuff. And through the years, I've been able to build connections through all of LA, through the reporting that we've done, especially through food. Food is an amazing connector. But when the rate started, I think one of the most impressive things is that people really saw LA Taco as a member of the community. They didn't see us as a publication outside. They really came to me and trusted me. I'm in these circles that do a lot of crazy counterintelligence work against ICE, and there's no other publication in there. It's just us. So the trust in the community is amazing. I think that's fundamental one that has to be built over years. But two, what I think really impresses me is that all of us that have been involved in organizing around ICE raids and countering ICE raids, it's the most common people. Preschool teachers, day laborers, doctors, plumbers, tow truck drivers, people that have no business doing all this incredible counter surveillance work, taking down data, doing analytics, building databases. Like, the amount of work that goes behind the scenes is absolutely incredible, and to be involved with that is amazing. And I just think it comes to prove, one, it doesn't matter what you are, what you're doing. I mean, shit, I was a fucking gardener for years, and now I'm doing all this ICE work. Believe in yourselves, believe in people, look for the doers, look for the people that have passion and grit. And if you find the other doers, you can really connect and do amazing things. So I think that's number one, and that's really what gets things going.
Thank you. Rudy, I want you to share your perspective, and I actually wanted you to bring us home, because one of the things I want you to also share, and all of you have shared so much in terms of what's needed in this moment, but also, what do you need philanthropy to do today? Like, we should not have the next conference and it's like, yet again, here we are. So I would love for you to share your experience, and also, what do you need philanthropy to do and know today?
Sure, I'll try. The first thought that I had was cut checks, but it's beyond that, is what philanthropy should be doing. Let me just talk about solidarity for a second. I just want to co-sign on my colleagues here about multiracial solidarity. It's very important. I know that we're at the Hispanics in Philanthropy conference, but at Inclusive Action, our team believes in multiracial solidarity. It's critical. That's how we're going to get to the future that we all deserve. But I also want to expand the definition of solidarity beyond sectors. So our organization is a unique organization. We're advocates. We That's why I was hanging out with Nana and Angelica and many other people yesterday. We're advocates. We believe in changing systems, but we're also a certified community development financial institution. We believe in investing in the workers and the businesses in our community. We've been doing that for 10 years as micro lenders, and we're even expanding our work to think about how do we organize capital to buy real estate in neighborhoods that are changing. So we believe that it requires various tools. Our solidarity is about building relations with people and also bringing different sectors together. And so our network is in the capital space and in the advocacy space. And so my encouragement to philanthropy, to close it out, I guess, is not only to cut checks. You all have to cut more checks, okay? We need you. But it's also to think about how you're expanding beyond your own community and your own networks. Don't hang out with just each other. Think about how you're mobilizing not only your own community, but mobilizing other sectors. That is, I think, a special role that philanthropy can play. You will not be able to fund liberation completely, but you can catalyze it. You can tell other people about it. You could get into rooms that we might not be able to get into. You can be our friends, real friends. Text me, call us. I think that's the prototype program officers and CEOs of foundations are the ones that are saying, hey, Rudy, I might not be able to do it this year, but I can't cut that check for you today. But you know what? Let me make a phone call for you. Let me figure out if I could get to a journalist. How can I connect you to other networks that you might not have access to? That is what we need from philanthropy. We need philanthropy to organize.
Yeah, I'll add that. Basically, we're advocates for our people. We need you guys to advocate for us. So, yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, this incredible panel. Please join me in thanking them for the incredible words, incredible advice. And Conchita didn't say this, but she's one of the attorneys that's litigating birthright citizenship at the Supreme Court. Proud Yale Latina grad. So when I say that these are deeply people I admire in the work that you all hold, these are like my celebrities. So thank you all so much. And I do just want to emphasize again, this panel is called American at a Crossroads. And a crossroad is a point of uncertainty, and it is also a point of a choice that has to be made. So think about the choices that you are going to make in this moment to help support and really resource the efforts that are being led by these incredible people and a lot of the folks that are in the audience today. So thank you so much. Please connect with them off stage, connect with each other, and please enjoy the conference. Thank you so much again.
This concludes our opening plenary. Please take a look at the screens for a list of all the charlas beginning shortly. As we prepare to set